All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at something pretty incredible: Japan's massive plan to completely overhaul its ports. Seriously, this isn't just an upgrade. We're talking about a blueprint for the entire future of global trade, and it's all powered by AI, automation, and this huge vision they call Port 2030.
I mean, just picture this for a second. What if a port could run itself? A port where giant ships dock completely on their own, where containers zip around without a single human driver in sight, and the whole system can just instantly react to a disaster. You know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but this is the very real goal at the absolute heart of Japan's national strategy.
So, the big question is, how are they actually planning to do this? Well, it's not just one single piece of tech. It's this whole ecosystem of innovations all working in perfect harmony. You've got AI brains running the terminals, you've got autonomous cargo ships out on the water, fully automated operations handling the nitty-gritty, and this incredible real-time disaster response system. Let's break down how it all fits together.
All right, Section 1, Japan's Port of the Future. Now, the first thing to get your head around is that this isn't just some vague idea or a cool concept. No, this is a concrete, top-down national plan. It's a deliberate strategy to build the port of the future, and they're starting right now.
So, the official starting gun for all this was back in 2018. That's when Japan's government, specifically the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism, unveiled this whole thing. They called it Port 2030. And listen, this wasn't just some light suggestion. This was a formal declaration, a line in the sand saying we're going to leapfrog everyone into the next generation of maritime tech.
Okay, on to the Port 2030 blueprint itself. To really get why this plan is such a game changer, you kind of have to look back at where it came from. See, this isn't Japan's first rodeo when it comes to long-term port planning. Not at all. This is actually the culmination of decades of strategic thinking and evolution.
And this timeline, it tells a really interesting story. If you look back to 1985, their big policy was called Ports Toward the 21st Century. Pretty straightforward, right? Then in 2000, the focus shifted a bit. It became about ports connecting life with the sea and the world. A bit more philosophical. But then 2018 hits, and Port 2030 changes the game. The new mantra is all about creating new value through connectivity. And that means connecting everything: people, industries, information, the whole shebang.
So, let's talk about the 3 pillars of transformation. How does this massive plan actually work on the ground? Well, it's all built on 3 main pillars. Think of them as the foundational legs of the stool. Each one is distinct, but they're all connected.
Okay, so pillar number 1 is the connected port. This is pretty much what it sounds like, making the physical links between Japan and the rest of the world as seamless and strong as possible. Pillar 2, they call the premium port. The idea here is to transform the ports themselves into bustling economic hubs, creating new value right there on the waterfront. And then there's the 3rd pillar, and this is the one that's really the engine for this whole revolution, the smart port. This is all about leading the charge into the 4th industrial revolution with AI and IoT. And trust me, this is where the tech gets really cool.
All right, Section 4, inside the AI terminal. Let's zoom right in on that smart port pillar we just talked about and get a look at its absolute centerpiece, the AI container terminal. You really have to think of this as the brain and the central nervous system of the entire port.
So what is an AI container terminal? Well, the official goal is ambitious, to say the least. They want to achieve the world's highest level of productivity, period. And the way they're going to do that is by using this powerful combo of AI, IoT sensors, and automation to optimize literally every single movement and every bit of storage. We're talking maximum efficiency.
So how do they actually automate all the physical heavy lifting? Well, it starts right at the ship with these things called double trolley cranes, which can load and unload way faster. Then, once the containers are on land, you have these driverless vehicles. They're called AGVs, or automated guided vehicles, and they just shuttle the containers exactly where they need to go. And finally, you've got automated vehicle platooning, which is basically a perfectly coordinated, super efficient dance of trucks moving in sync.
But all that automated muscle is nothing without a brain to control it, right? That's where the AI optimization comes in. The AI is constantly calculating the most efficient storage plan, like a grandmaster playing a game of 3D chess with thousands of containers. It's paired with 3D container storage, which basically means stacking containers vertically to save a ton of space. And a lot of this is handled through remote operation, which is a double win. It maximizes how much the equipment is used and makes the whole place way safer for workers.
Now, this whole revolution isn't just happening on land, not by a long shot. it's also happening out at sea. Because for a smart port to really work its magic, it has to be talking to equally smart ships. And here's something that might surprise you. The journey to autonomous ships started a long time ago. Can you believe Japan was running its first AI ship simulations way back in 1988? Of course, the official government projects really kicked into high gear in 2018, right alongside the Port 2030 plan. And they set a super ambitious target: get these autonomous ships into practical, everyday use by 2025.
So what kind of tech are we actually talking about here? Well, they're proving out a few key functions. You've got auto navigation, which is being used for things like advanced passenger ships. Then there's remote operation. And this is wild. They've already piloted a tugboat from 400 kilometers away using 5G. And finally, auto berthing, which is basically an automated system that helps ships dock themselves perfectly every single time.
Okay, Section 5, Building Resilient Harbors. Now, all this amazing, futuristic tech is one thing, but it's also potentially fragile. And in a country like Japan, which deals with earthquakes and tsunamis, a smart port also has to be an incredibly tough port. That's why this plan puts a huge emphasis on resilience.
And when you compare disaster response then versus now, wow, it's like night and day. The old method was all manual, on-site damage assessment, super slow. The Port 2030 method is all about real-time assessment. Instead of waiting hours or days for people to send in reports, an AI can process data from drones, sensors, and GPS all at once and immediately figure out the best way to recover. It's all about keeping things moving, even when the worst happens.
And this is the high-tech resilience toolkit that makes it all possible. You've got drones for aerial inspections, giving you eyes in the sky. You have IoT sensors embedded right into the port facilities, constantly reporting their health. You've got satellite imagery for the big picture view and GPS to measure even tiny structural shifts. And all of that data, it feeds into an AI that doesn't just see what happened, but can actually predict what's needed next and where to send resources. All right, last section, a new global network. So, we've covered the smart terminals, the autonomous ships, the resilient harbors. Now let's zoom out one last time and look at the big picture. How does Japan plan to use all this technology on the world stage? Because this is about way more than just making their own ports efficient. This is about global strategy. The full strategy actually has 8 major pillars, but these 4 really show you the scope of their ambition. First, supporting global value chains, making Japan an even more critical link. Second, creating sustainable domestic logistics. Third, promoting green ports and green shipping. And this last one is really important: exporting their port technology overseas. They want to set the standard for the rest of the world. And in the end, it all comes back to this one powerful idea from their vision statement. They say the goal is to create new value by connecting everything: people, industries, information, and space. It's not just about connecting a ship to a dock anymore. It's about connecting data to smart decisions, connecting industries to new opportunities, and really connecting Japan itself to the future of the entire global economy. So, as AI continues to rewire our world, Japan has very clearly laid out its blueprint. They're weaving technology deep into the very fabric of trade. And that leaves us with a huge question, doesn't it? Who will own the future of trade? In this new world, who gets to write the rules?